I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you could please collect yourself and return to your seat if you're not there. The meeting of the General Government Committee is being held in a hybrid meeting format with virtual and in-person participation by members of the public, staff, and council. This meeting is also being live streamed and may be viewed online at ajax.ca/live. A friendly reminder to all participants to please use their microphone at all times for the benefit of those participating in council chambers and joining remotely, and please speak close to your microphone. I now call this meeting to order. We will start with the land acknowledgement. So we'd like to begin the meeting by acknowledging that the land in which we gather is situated within the traditional treaty territory of the Mississaugas, more specifically the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the William Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action in acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation, as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. So thank you for joining us. If you're out there, we are going to, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest from any member of council? Seeing none, we can move on from that. I need a mover for the adoption of minutes. The regular meeting of May 12, 2025. Councillor Lisa Bauer will move that. And if we could vote on that, correct? Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. Next up, we have the consent agenda, and there are 10 consent agenda items, and every one of them have been pulled. Easy for you to say, I believe. Yes. So starting off with item number 4.1, Councillor Henry, you have the floor. Oh, I got to turn you on. There you go.
Thank you, Chair. So my first question is with regards to the healthcare spending, because this is something new to this council, and I'm noticing that 3 out of 5 municipalities do not have this option in the examples that were given. So I guess this would go to Director, who would this go to? Who wrote the report? McClarity? Oh, sorry. Yes. If we could have an answer with regards to this. I'd like to know more about this healthcare spending, what it entails.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Faye can answer any technical questions you have regarding the healthcare spending. But as the report notes, we were doing an analysis of all of the other comparable municipalities in Durham Region, and these were some things that we see that our municipalities fallen behind on, and we were trying to make a one-time adjustment. But Faye can answer the questions regarding the healthcare spending.
Thank you.
How it's used.
Press the button. Hi, through the chair. Henry, can you please explain what exactly you're asking in regards to the healthcare spending account?
So this is something new. Like right now, currently, we as council, we have healthcare benefits, correct?
Yes.
And what does this give us extra aside from the healthcare benefits we already have?
So
Why do we need this? Let me put it to you this way. Why do we need this?
This would be in regards to things that our current healthcare benefits do not cover. So things that you would be paying out of pocket for. So it would also be in addition to, like, if you have wellness needs and stuff that's not currently covered under the benefits. So for example, if you have dental benefit premiums that you're paying right now, if there's something that's not covered under your dental that's in excess, you can use this healthcare spending account to cover off that money that you are paying out of pocket.
Would it be used, could it conceivably be used for, let's say you had an MRI appointment at the hospital, there's a long wait. Could you go to a private clinic and have that appointment?
Yes, you would be able to use the healthcare spending account. You would have to provide your receipts in regards to that, but you would be able to use your healthcare spending account for those purposes.
So it can be used for private, outside of our regular OHIP-covered healthcare?
Yes, but you would have to provide the receipts in order to demonstrate that you received the services.
100%?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Okay, so I don't know who I'd ask this to, CEO Baker, if it would be the same person or not. But with regards to the numbers that I'm looking at here, so 7,300 times six members of council, and then 14,622 for the mayor. That's bringing us in at 58,422. And when I'm looking at the average across the region, I'm seeing a varying of averages coming across the region. Why are we bringing the report forward now? Why not wait until next term and do this? Why now? I understand you were looking at averages, but we're a year out till the next election. Why now?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think the report does speak to that in that we have a policy that is remaining in place. However, the current policy is such that the increases for council are related to negotiations that go on with CUPE and then increases for exempt as well. We haven't started those negotiations yet, and we obviously could see, because HR does an analysis every year to see what the remuneration is across the region. We could see that our council's remuneration had fallen behind despite the policy. So this adjustment would have been asked for then, but we felt that we really don't know the timeline of the next adjustment based on the policy, so we wanted to bring this forward now.
Okay. Mr. Chair, will I have a chance for comment, or is this it? Although, is there going to be another round? No? Okay, so, yeah, yeah. Okay, so,
Yeah, the item's up, so you can ask questions now, yeah.
actually, you know what, I'm going to leave this for now. I'll just vote on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of council? Any questions on this one? Okay, if we could bring up the vote, please and thank you. Mr. Clerk, Madam Clerk. Oh, okay. Yeah, Regional Councillor Lee had his hand up, yep, so we'll have you move it, sorry. And now we can call a vote now that's been moved. Thank you. Rusty. Okay, and that carries. Thank you so much. Now on to 4.2, indexing of municipal development charges, and that was pulled by Mayor Collier. You have the floor, sir. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to drag this on. I absolutely support the indexing, but given the, I guess, economical environment that we're in, we're not actually getting any or very many permits pulled right now, despite the large number of units we have approved. I see this as a disincentive. What I would like to do is add a bullet or an amendment to this. The recommendation is that these changes commence July 1st, 2025. I would like to amend that so it commences September 1st, 2025, and I'll just explain quickly why. There are a number of applications in the pipeline right now in the site plan process that are getting fairly close. I look at this as an incentive to hopefully get them to pull the trigger and pull their permits before, so they can be sort of grandfathered under the existing rates before they go up. So I'll just leave it there and ask for your support. Thank you.
Are we bringing an amendment, or is that a friendly? There is an amendment, okay, and you're going to move it? Yeah, so the amendment will come up on the screen, I'm assuming, changing it from July to September, as the mayor just said. No problem. Well, just waiting for it to come up on the screen, and then we can ask questions, or should we just go ahead with questions now?
Sorry, to Mr. Chair, who has moved the original motion today?
So the original motion was moved by Regional Councillor Lee, and the amendment is moved by Mayor Collier. And now we have questions on the amendment, correct?
On the amendment, okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll speak to Regional Councillor Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. To staff, do we have an approximation of what the costs, do we anticipate any sort of loss, and can we quantify that?
Through the chair, it totally depends on the development that comes forward.
So then to the Director of Planning, they would need a fully baked plan, right? It can't just be like, oh, we're going to submit paperwork that's dated July 1st and then kind of make it up as I go along. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, through the chair to Council Lee, for the most part, most of our applications that have been submitted for site plan are already locked in through the previous changes. You're locked in a DC amount when you submit, and then and that's open indefinitely until you get approval, and then you're locked in for 18 months. So most of them are already in that wheelhouse. I think there'd only be 2 or 3 other applications that would benefit from this extension. I think Medallion on Rossland, maybe 101 Pickering Beach Road, because they're at that end stage. I got another one here, 282 Monarch, and maybe 1350 Church. But other than that, for the most part, everybody's already getting a lesser benefit through their site plan lock-ins and approvals.
For the 3 properties, can you ballpark the difference? What's the delta? Like, how much is this going to?
I couldn't.
No.
I couldn't give you a number right now.
Okay, if you could take that away,
Sure.
I guess we're with finance, and
Yep.
I'm just very curious of those numbers. I don't see an issue with this.
Yep.
But again, if it's like millions of dollars, then obviously we do have one. But we can always discuss that at council afterwards. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Regional Councillor Lee. Anybody else? Okay, we'll go back to Mayor Collier.
Just wanted to add to that, because that's a good point. We don't have, 0 is 0, which is what we have today. So this is sort of just an incentive to try and get those over the line and moving. I know a lot of developers are holding off right now just because the market is terrible. CMHC is not lending, interest rates are fairly high, costs are fairly high. There's still the unknowns about tariffs and all the rest. So really, it's probably going to be 0 over the summer anyway. But just as we do know, and I do follow that development tracker that we get monthly very closely, and there are a number that are right there on the line that can pull this, as the director pointed out. So maybe this will get them to make that decision to save. It's not going to be significant, because just think of the math. A couple of % of even 10 million isn't a lot of money when you're building a several $100 million building.
Okay, appreciate the extra insight. Is there any other questions on the amendment, which is moved by Mayor Collier? And seeing none, if we can vote on that amendment, please. Okay, just waiting, and that carries. Thank you. And now, can we get a mover? I believe Regional Councillor Lee is moving it on the balance of the agenda. Sorry, on the as amended. Sorry. Thank you for the wording. If we can do that now, thank you. Yeah, okay. And that passes. Thank you so much. Moving on now to 4.3. I believe before we get to questions, Ms. Valentin, did you have an updated recommendation for this?
Thank you, Chair. There was an adjustment to recommendation number 3, 2 and 3, I think, with regards to the funding that will be uncommitted. So upon further review, there were two capital, one came out and one went in. One was already closed and one was missed on the closing, so we're just updating administratively.
Okay, I think we understand that, but we'll go to questions to council. They may have further questions, and starting with Councillor Henry, who moved this, or sorry, pulled it. We don't have a
Thank
mover
you,
yet.
Chair. So my question is with regards to page 19 of the report. And it is with regards to a compressor replacement for the ice pad of $32,767. What was the warranty on that item at the original time of purchase? And like, was there not an extended warranty option afterwards that the replacement could have been avoided? Through the chair to whomever can answer that.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Henry. Great question. Fortunately, we had, to our disappointment as well, passed the warranty period for that compressor, which required that we absorb the full cost of that. In saying that, I will say that the timing for that unit to go down is premature based on the expected life of that. So we are following up with the manufacturer. They're going to investigate, pull it apart, try to see what the root cause of was the damage. And we're hoping that might turn out that maybe we get some of that money back. But as it stands, we're covering the cost.
And sorry, when you say you expected it to last longer, what was the initial warranty for that compressor? Do we know? Like, was it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
No, it was a shorter time frame than that. I believe it was 3, maybe 4 years. It was a shorter time period.
3 years, okay. And so it was within the warranty date that it was out of the warranty date, and there was no extension offered for this product?
We were not offered a warranty extension, no. And yes, that's correct. It did go down after the warranty had expired.
Okay. I look forward to hearing if we recouped any money from that. Thank you. That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other, yes, Councillor Lisa Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Tyler Moore. Just for clarification from Director Valentim, where there's some changes to the ins and outs of the closings, can you please tell us what that changes those ultimate numbers to that we're voting? Do you have that?
Through the chair to Councillor Bauer. So I believe that the agenda was updated with the most up-to-date attachment, which shows all of the projects.
Okay.
So the actual transfers back to the reserve did not change. So it's still 1.18 million that will go back to the various reserves.
Okay.
It was the amount of the uncommitted
Yes.
that changed, went down slightly. It's still about $400,000. So in essence, we are putting back into our reserves about $1.5 million through the closing of these capital accounts.
1.55. Okay. I'm sorry, when was the agenda updated?
I believe this morning.
Oh, just this morning. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That was my question.
Sorry. Yeah, let's call the vote if you have no other questions, and we need a mover for that. Okay, we're going with just 2 movers today, apparently. Okay, we'll go back to Mayor Collier, then we need to spread this around. Okay, thank you. You gonna move them all? Okay. Everybody voted? Okay, that passes. Thank you so much. Next, we have 4.4, which is pulled by Councillor Bauer, Mayor Collier, and Councillor Henry. So we can go with Councillor Bauer first. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question about, I know there was recently, I don't know the name of it, but a review of how we use salt use within the town. So I was just wondering, was there any changes to is this a typical order of salt, or was there any changes made as a result of that study?
Through the chair to Councillor Bauer, this report is really just a co-op that we've been working with the region on for a long time. It's our estimated uses. Some winters it goes up, some winters it goes down. I'm not sure if the report that you're referring to in the salt management plan actually details out our quantities, but that again would just look at estimates and how to use the salt properly and where we store it and more from an environmental perspective.
Yes, okay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify. That was my question.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, we have Mayor Collier.
Actually, I asked my questions before the meeting, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Henry, you had pulled this as well? Yes, I've asked my question. Okay, thank you so much. So we need a mover on this, which would you like, oh, sorry. Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford, not on my game here. And if we could vote, please. And that passes. Okay, now on to 4.5, contract award, Doughty Road Construction, Hunt Street. Again, Ms. Bauer, yeah. Councilor Bauer, you pulled this as well, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the report. My question was about, and it's in the report a little bit, so I'm just asking maybe for clarification. I just want to know, there is a residential area there at Hunt and Monarch. So just a review of what the actual timeline is and communications plan for notifying those residents of the project.
Through the chair to Councillor Bauer, we have Renil Fernando and Matt Boyle, the ones that are managing the project. I think they can help you with your questions.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Bauer, yeah, our intention is to hand deliver public notices to all the affected property owners within the construction limits. In addition to that, we'll complete updates on the town website as well as updates on town social media platforms.
Perfect. And I think the report says it's starting in July?
That's right, yeah. The construction commencement is tentatively scheduled for the end of July.
Yep.
Our intention is to complete all major works and substantially complete the project by the winter of 2025 with some minor works and deficiency correction into the spring of 2026.
Great. And the notices that will be hand delivered, do they typically have a contact name and information for residents who might have questions?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. That was my only question.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, we have Mayor Collier.
Thank you, Chair. We are still contemplating, hopefully, continuing Hunt Street right through to Westney. I'm sure it is, but please confirm that the Hunt Street work that's going to be done up to Doughty Road is to the same width requirements, exactly what's going to be done further the way through. Like, we're not going to have to go back and make any amendments when we continue the work down.
So through the chair to Mayor Collier, yeah, so the width, there'll be some rework that would need to get done at the intersection, but it's minor. So we're through this project, we're going to try and do our best to sort of keep the width so that when we do the Hunt Street extension, there's not a lot of rework at Doughty.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was sure that was the case. I just wanted to make sure. I want to talk a little bit about the sewer capacity, because through my recollection of the case study, Doughty Road was sort of the Band-Aid fix with the connection to Achilles to, is it Achilles? No, Farrell, to, until we could eventually get Hunt Street completed all the way. I know the region did try to pull back from that when Ajax Textile closed because it created some capacity. But I'm hoping that the replacement sanitary sewer that's going in Doughty is of a larger capacity to give us some more capacity for development going forward. They're not just replacing it with the same size.
So through the chair to Councilor, or to Mayor Collier, I'll let Matt answer the details, but the region is replacing some of the sanitary sewers that are in there, but are they doing the upsizing? They're not. No, so
I guess my question is, are they upsizing it?
No,
to
they're
create
not. No, they're
additional-
not. They're not upsizing it. They're keeping it the same size.
Why would they do that? Well, am I incorrect in my recollection of the case study that was supposed to be oversized to give us that additional capacity?
Director McLarty, did you want to speak? Oh, sorry.
Thank you. So through the chair to Mayor Collier. So in the case study, it was one or the other. It wasn't both situations. It wasn't upsizing Doughty and constructing Hunt Street. it was either Hunt Street or Doughty. And in the interim, because Hunt Street wasn't moving forward, the Doughty option was explored prior to Ajax Textiles going out of business. So in this case, once Hunt Street is constructed, we wouldn't need the Doughty option.
Okay, but once Hunt Street is constructed, the problem is it's a fairly significant project. We haven't been successful in getting our partners, being the federal and provincial governments, to partner with us on this so we can move it forward. So if Hunt Street doesn't go ahead, replacing the sanitary sewer and Doughty and leaving it the same size, how is that going to help us?
So when Ajax Textiles went out of business, that opened up a significant amount of capacity. So in the interim, we don't need the Doughty option. There's a lot of capacity there for the development that's in the north end of the downtown.
Okay, and I recognize that this is a regional thing, and it might be unfair to ask you. I'm going to ask you anyway. What is in the meantime? I mean, is this going to give us 10 years? Just one business closing? I know they were a heavy user, but if it's only 1 or 2 years, I'm not understanding why they wouldn't oversize this. You're digging up the road anyway. Is there some reason why it can't be oversized, some sort of restriction?
Director McLarty wishes to
Okay,
speak.
I think they're going to address it.
Oh, are you going to do it now? Okay.
Yes.
So through the chair to Mayor Collier. So when the region looked at the design, this was not the most ideal design because the slopes to get that pipe connected, the oversized pipe would be very, very flat. I think they were looking at less than 0.1% slopes, which is not the most ideal way to sort of build that, right? So having the Ajax Textile Company sort of, removing the capacity allowed for more capacity, through that, right? So essentially that's why they kind of pulled away from it because it wasn't an ideal design. And now that we have sufficient capacity through the Ajax Textile Company leaving, it kind of solved the problem.
Again, my question was for how long? In the meantime is 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I'm certainly hoping to get Hunt Street done in my time here, or at least started, but who knows?
So I won't be able to give you an exact time frame because it's all dependent on development coming forward. But that solution was really to deal with development on the north end, kind of Ajax Plaza and up in and around that area. And even for some of the development that's on the south side of Hunt Street, there are alternatives as well, where they're continuing to maintain the capacity in the downtown and setting capacity down pipes over towards Neighborhood 1. So there are solutions, but in our discussions with the region, there doesn't seem to be concerns in at least the development that we have on the table and the things that we can see coming forward in the years to come prior to the construction of Hunt Street.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers. Councillor Henry, okay, yep, I saw you there. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So one of my questions has been answered, but I wanted to ask with the resurfacing, the bike lanes, is that through the chair? Is that through Doughty only where the bike lanes are going? Is that correct? There was surface marketing for bike lanes? Did I read that correct in the report?
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Henry. Yeah, I believe Doughty Road and Hunt Street both have on-street bike facilities, and they both will be reinstated upon project completion.
And I apologize. I've not been down Doughty probably 3 times in my life, the whole time I've lived here. Hunt Street, yes, but is there currently bike markings there right now?
On Hunt Street, I believe there is, yes.
On Doughty?
On Doughty, I'd have to double check. I am almost certain that there is. It might possibly be shared facility. Yeah.
The shared facility?
It might be shared, yeah.
So it's
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor Henry, it's not a dedicated bike lane, but it's a sharrow with a symbol. So you share the road. I think there's 2 or 3 of them on that part of Doughty. It's not a very long stretch.
And that's going to turn into designated bike lanes?
I think we're just reinstating what's there after we do the surface treatment.
Okay, so nothing, I just wanted to clarify, nothing new. There's not going to be, because it's a very commercial area, right? It's all commercial driveways.
You can still bike on it.
Yeah, you can. I haven't, yeah. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify, so no bike lanes are going in?
No, I don't believe so, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? And if not, would you like to move it, Councillor Bauer, since it's Ward 3? Okay. If we can open the voting. And that carries. Thank you so much. Next, we have the update to the traffic bylaw, which was also pulled by our friends Mayor Collier, Lisa Bauer, and Nancy Henry. So, Mayor Collier. Oh, sorry.
This is on the, yeah. I'm fine with this, and I did speak with Mr. Pandya this morning about what my intention was. I'm happy with this. I'm not happy with the unbudgeted funding. I'm just asking that we add a bullet 5 in an amendment, recommendation number 5, that this be referred to the 2026 budget process. Thank you.
Okay, so is that an amendment or a friendly, or that's an amendment? So should we have our discussion now on the body or the amendment? So now we're discussing on the amendment. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with you, Councillor Henry.
Sorry, we're discussing the amendment of
amendment.
moving it.
No, we're not moving it. We're discussing if you have any questions on the amendment that Mayor Collier has just made to move it from now till the 2026 budget, I believe.
No, that's not my question. My question's on the actual first motion.
Okay, we'll come
so
back to that.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay, any questions on the actual? Okay. We're not looking for questioners.
Here, let me think of a question. No, but here, so then my question clarification would be, if it's moved forward to the 2026 budget, will it also be implemented during the 2026 budget year? Thank you. That's my question.
Okay, that's the clarity. And next up, we have on the amendment, Regional Councillor Lee.
So by going to the budget process, it goes to the mayor. The mayor can then not put this in the budget, in theory, though, right?
I will put it in the budget.
Okay, I just want to make sure, but that's, but then why then? I guess why are we referring to the budget process? Like the why is the key thing.
Mayor Collier, if you'd like to answer that. Sorry.
Just, we've done the budget. We've had a bit of a slew of unbudgeted things that we've done in the last few months. I don't like the precedent we're kind of setting by doing this. I don't see this as really, I hope it works. I don't really think it's going to work. I don't really think it's very urgent. And so I would rather just see it, we can approve all the recommendations now and just have it go through the proper budget process. It's accountable, it's transparent, and it's following the regular procedures.
Okay, it's all good. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions on this amendment? There being none, let's vote on the amendment, please. Oh, moved by, yes, obviously by Mayor Collier, yes. Okay. Okay, the amendment carries. And now we can ask questions. Okay, Councillor Henry, did you want to go first on this? Okay, sorry, is that okay, Regional Councillor Crawford? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So my question, I guess we'll go back to Mr. Pandya. And my question is with regards to the stopping sign. Okay, so the parking, no stopping, no parking. So obviously these signs aren't implemented right now, we're putting them in. So I guess my question goes to, you know, Mayor Collier just made a comment about, I don't see this working. So we've got one dedicated bylaw officer in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, to go to 20 to 25 schools and regulate the no stopping, no parking signs. I know you've got to put them in. I understand that you have to do this as your job and you have to do it, but how are we going to enforce this?
Through chair to.
I don't know, through the chair to Councillor Henry, I don't know if that's a question for the manager of transportation to talk about with regards to enforcement.
Understood. Is it to you?
I'm not in charge of enforcement of anything, but maybe bylaw services who does the parking enforcement, they probably could better assist you.
I guess my thank you for that. I guess my question is because we don't have enough staff to be at all these schools, and we're going to be putting this in. Is there any other tools in the toolbox we could be putting out there? Because we know in North Ajax, like we have signs all over Seagar, Fletcher. Parents are still parking there constantly all the time. bylaw can't be at all these places at once. Police don't come for these type of complaints. They're out, catching criminals that are doing serious, like way serious things in parking infractions. Not that that's not serious, but is there anything else we've got in the toolbox? That's it. Yeah, I know police won't respond to it. I know. Mayor Collier just said that. That's accurate, 100%. No. Okay, I'll let that go.
Okay.
I'll let that go. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford.
Thank you. I know when we had police officers that we could discuss things with, when we first put the first set of no stopping signs in, it was his opinion that if the school has a kiss and drop or whatever they call it now, that these signs should not be on the road, and that the school was doing what they were supposed to do to get children safely to school. And if the school had not done this, if I got this right or if I got it backwards, but because if the school has a kiss and drop, then that is a process to taking your kids to school, and there's no reason for having or actually they would be in favor of the no stopping, but if the school had not provided that, then we should not be putting it on the sidewalk, because there is no other way for the parents to drop their children off. So my point would be, have we checked with any of these slated schools here to see if they have done any kind of kiss and drop or whatever? I think I'm saying that wrong. Kiss and ride, right. Kiss drop. So there should not, yeah. Right. Okay, so these schools have all been checked for that? Because what I'm saying is that I find that there's little to no cooperation with the school board in trying to actually get people from not parking on the road. And now it has become our problem because we get residents complaining that people are dropping and parking on the road. So it's a problem that we're solving that we didn't create, which is really, really irritating. And to Councillor Henry's point, is going to cost us because now we have to use our bylaw officers to enforce it. So my issue, and actually it is the police will come out and enforce it, but it is a much bigger fine if the police come out and enforce it. So where are we with the school board and trying to get kids safely dropped off? And why does no one walk?
Through the chair to Councillor Crawford, through our active transportation coordinator, we do reach out to the schools and bike to work, walk to work, or walk to school, bike to school. Lots of different engagement with the schools throughout the year through our active transportation program. So, I mean, we're always encouraging people to walk their kids to school, ride bikes to school, use other modes of transportation. I think for the most part, a good majority of the schools have a kiss and ride built in to their system. But, I mean, they get backed up. They're slow.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I do realize that the schools are using other neighborhoods to fill in their schools because the school's population is diminishing. So rather than putting your kid on a school bus, you'll drive your child, right? So I do understand that it's sort of a self-inflicted thing that's happened.
Correct.
Not everybody can walk.
Not everybody can walk.
Right.
If they're out of district or they're in a newer area that gets, the school on Fishlock used to be kind of like the school that everybody gets sent to in North Ajax when a new development happens. So I think the principals have a lot of power at the schools too. So I think it's like influencing
Rob
those
and I have discussed
lead
it with many of them.
administrators and how they can kind of work within their community to get better buy-in. Walking safer routes to school, I think, is the name of the program that we work with them. And Army is literally a one-man army, and she would be more than happy to go out to the schools and discuss with them or the administrators and, build a program and see if there's other ways to reduce traffic in those areas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director and Regional Councilor Crawford. Next up, we have Councilor Lisa Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Pandya, thank you for this. I'm appreciative of these solutions for the area, the two areas in Ward 3, because you're right, we've received many complaints and concerns about safety and for people parking on the roads. So I did want to ask two questions. One was the one on Bircher Road. I saw that the restriction will be no stopping from Bailey to the first Wishbone Crescent street turn. When staff went and did that examination, did you find that from the first Wishbone to the second Wishbone was also quite congested? And I'm asking that because I think it is. I've seen that area too. And would it be recommended, or could we have the no stopping placed to the second Wishbone versus the first?
I think when staff did the site visits, we observed parking, on-street parking on both sides on Bircher between Bailey and the southern Wishbone leg. So therefore, we recommended no stopping restrictions, especially during the school arrival and dismissal times,
Yes.
to facilitate effective and safe traffic operation. We can go back. Definitely, we can go back and look into if we can, if we want to extend it further north on Bircher Road. But at this point, based on staff observations, I guess we did not find like that kind of an issue within that area, but we are prepared to go back and look into it once again.
Okay, I'd appreciate that, thank you. And then second, I don't know that you would have this answer, but what is the penalty, the dollar amount for no stopping?
Just for clarification, what's the ticketed fine
Yes.
for not stopping at a stop sign?
No, if someone
Or
parks in the
no
no
stopping
stopping
in the
area,
stopping area.
what is the fine? I don't know if that,
I think that would obviously go to bylaw. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody's here.
I'm sorry, Counselor, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
let me look that up and send that to
okay.
you.
Thank you very much. It came up as we were talking between no stopping and no parking. Just wondering if that's a nice deterrent, But thank you, I really do appreciate what's happening here for both Southwood and Ajax High. Thank you. That was my question.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilor Nancy Henry.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. I think we have to remember here that the parents where these issues are happening at the schools are also our residents, and there's a shared responsibility between the school board and the town, because the school board can only control their property. They cannot control town roads. That falls to the municipality.
I've been a trustee,
I wasn't talking to you in particular. As a parent council chair and seeing this many times in the past, I just wanted to make that comment. In the schools in North Ajax, I've had some good working relationships with the principals, and a lot of them are really frustrated because they're doing everything they can to get the traffic flow moving, and yet their properties are small. And I understand that could be part in the site plan issue as well at the beginning when we're looking at creating the schools. And if we think it's bad right now, imagine with all these new developments we just passed where folks are going to have to be driving their kids to school. So thank you for your report. I appreciate it.
Okay, would you like to move it, Councilor Henry? Okay, to Sterling, or sorry, Regional Councilor Lee, move it. And any more questions? We're good? Okay, let's move it. Or sorry, let's vote. And that carries. Thank you so much. We're on to 4.7. which is the Sustainable Neighborhood Action Program, and that was pulled by Councillor Bauer and Councillor Henry. So we'll go with Councillor Bauer first.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. Always interesting. Can you please talk about, it is on page 68 of the agenda, which is one of the strategies. It's strategy number 5 about supporting healthy tower communities. And that last little sentence about explore opportunities to establish maximum indoor temperature bylaws, especially in rental buildings. And I also noticed in the report and other parts of the presentation, the report, there were comments about heating and cooling and air conditioning. And so Regional Councillor Dyes and I have had conversations with staff and have looked at, you know, the seriousness of heat, right? Extreme heat. So maybe could you just talk to us about that and how do we make this change?
Absolutely. Through the chair to you, Councillor Bauer. Maximum temperature bylaws and extreme heat have, since the start of this program in 2022, have really been at the forefront of what we're hearing from residents, stakeholders, and other experts in different areas. So as part of this resilience strategy, the Durham Region's public health staff teams were heavily involved. They've recently released an extreme heat vulnerability assessment that was looked at as part of this strategy as well. And coming out of that work is really looking at how can we help those residents that do not have access to air conditioning, especially when we're feeling higher temperatures for longer throughout the summers now. Right. And there are municipalities within Ontario and the GTA that are starting to look at this. I mean, we have cold temperature bylaws. A unit cannot go down below a certain degree during the winter. There has to be heating involved. So some municipalities are looking at first, how do you create a maximum temperature bylaw, and how do you enforce it, and how do you support landlords, property managers, and residents in making those retrofits that would be required. So it's definitely not something that would be easy to do in terms of buildings that require retrofits, but it is something that is getting more and more coverage in media, within other municipalities, and within health vulnerability assessments.
That's great. Excuse me. I'm glad to hear you say that. Thank you, Mr. Richardson, because when I first started discussing this, Regional Councillor Dyes and I, with you and with other members of staff and colleagues, it seems like something that we could easily solve, right? Change a bylaw for dates of when air conditioning has to come on, or when it can, all those things, but there's so much other stuff behind the scenes that makes it much harder than, in my opinion, it should be. But thank you. I wanted to just have that reiterated to all of my council colleagues about the importance of trying to mitigate this type of stuff as quickly as we can. So thank you. Thank you for the report. That's my question.
Thank you. And next we have Councillor Henry.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about the breakdown of how this program's paid. So we're seeing, my understanding is that TRCA, Town of Ajax, and Durham Region. 3-part split, is that correct?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Henry, that's somewhat correct. So this project has actually been over the last 3 years. Year 1 of the project was kind of our pilot year, our mini SNAP project that was funded half by the region of Durham, and the Town of Ajax matched that through the capital budget process. After that successful first year, Town of Ajax and TRCA actually applied for a large Green Municipal Fund grant that we were successful in securing, close to $130,000 worth. That required match funding from Town of Ajax, from our capital contingency reserves, as well as money from the region of Durham and Peter Gilligan Foundation and the Canadian Wildlife Federation. So we've actually been able to secure quite a lot of external grants and funding sources for this project. And I think I have a total here. So in the 3 years since it's been running, the Town of Ajax has put in approximately $135,000 in funding in the last 3 years. And we've put in approximately $262,000 in external funding from other sources.
Oh, okay. So we're
about, we're
1/3?
1/3 about, yes.
Okay. But this program is only for one portion of our entire town. It's like one area in South Ajax, that's it.
Yes, the SNAP neighborhood, correct.
Okay, interesting. All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions? Can I get a mover on the Ajax Sustainable Neighborhood Action Program? We'll go with Councilor Bauer. And if we get the vote on that, please. Mayor Collier, if you could vote, please. And that carries. Thank you so much. Next, we have the 2024 Art and Public Spaces Plan Final Report, and it was pulled by Regional Councillor Lee, Regional Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bauer, and Councillor Henry. We'll start with you, Regional Councillor Lee. All right.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. So great work in this window that we had. I know public art is always the first one to go when approaching a budget. What is the next step? So it said at the end there that, you know, we are going to look into creating a new plan. Will it be as long? Is it going to be a 5-year plan? Is it, where do we think, are we going to try different avenues for funding? Because I very much don't want to see the arts disappear from Ajax. You know, these installations bring flavor, they bring tourism, and I just want to make sure that we have a long-term strategy in place to keep art in Ajax.
Yes, through the chair to Regional Councillor Lee. Yeah, the Ajax Arts and Culture Plan Steering Committee, which is made up of representatives from each department within the town, is currently working and finalizing that plan. That plan will match the plan, the actual arts and culture plan, so it'll be a 10-year plan that we'll be looking at.
Okay, I'm looking forward to see that. So we'll get it before the end of the year, presumably then, right?
Probably by the end of the year or early next year.
Yeah. Okay, looking forward to it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to say, first of all, I love art in public spaces. It makes me happy. And I hear from residents, a lot of residents, it makes them feel that way as well. So with that said, the little art people at ARC, the little metal people with the stones inside them, those art displays, I've been having, like, I've probably had about 20 different folks reach out to me in the last 3 months about stones missing from them. Do we know anything about that? And is it going to be replaced? I don't know how the stones got out of them.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Henry, we can look into getting those. Sometimes it depends. Some children try and go in and dig out a stone. Some of the stones that are in those people actually are sandblasted with words on them, welcoming words like, you know, friendship and family and things like that. So I think some have become souvenirs for for children or teens or who knows what. As long as they don't end up through ARC's window, then I'm okay with that. Yeah, so I can talk to the artist who is actually local. It's Jordy Lishman. But what we need to look at is he'll have to open up the pieces to put the pieces in, and he might have to put some crossbars in as well to make the spaces smaller, so that the rocks are not easily removable. But there will be probably a budget impact for that to repair the pieces. So I'll have to get those dollars to see where we're at.
So it'll be a budgeted item.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to take a look into that.
Maybe just, we put bigger rocks in. I don't know what it is, but it looks like it was so beautiful at the beginning when it first went in. And as my child grew and we used to go there and she used to go up and, you know, and look at these art pieces. And I'm sure every other parent experienced the same thing. And then all of a sudden now you see like a half empty head of a person. It's a little eerie. So yeah, we'd like to see that fixed.
I can absolutely mark that on my list. Thank you.
I'm completely out of turn, but I completely agree with Councillor Henry. My little grandkids love the stone people. They commented on the rocks being done. Next up, we have Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Gruber. Nice to see you. Thank you for the report. And this report, the long-term 2008 to 2024, it seems like an awfully long time to wait for this kind of report. So I was just wondering, did we not, like, why is it a 16-year span before we heard this?
Through the councillor, or through the chair to Councillor Bauer, the reason we did this was because technically there wasn't really a time span on this.
Right.
And so when we adopted the new Arts and Culture Plan in 2022, I think it was.
Yeah.
Part of that was to update the art and public spaces plan, as well as develop a new plan. So those are deliverables on the actual plan. And then, so we really we started to do that and get that work done really in 2023 and start to really categorize and classify all the pieces of art that we had.
Okay.
So that's why it's taken a bit longer to get done.
Sure, okay, and then even looking, that makes sense. And even just looking at the spreadsheet with the items of art, the art pieces and the year of installation, et cetera, it was much heavier at the beginning.
Yes.
And I'm guessing those are budget restraints and cuts that led to quite a big lag of new art pieces in our town.
Yes, through the chair. I think some of the pieces also were lower ticket prices as well.
Yeah.
And also after COVID, a lot of the prices have skyrocketed in terms of supply, like pieces, right? So any materials, things like that, metal, wood, glass, they're all quite expensive now.
Yeah.
And so that does deter some of the pieces and the cost for that, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we have Regional Councillor Crawford.
Thank you. I'll just keep saying thank you till the mic comes on. I have one question, and I know it's probably the wrong way to say it, but the totem pole at the opening of Duffins Creek Trail, it's very faded.
Yes.
Who's responsible for that?
Through the chair to Regional Councillor Crawford. I actually have been in discussions with the Scouts to take that on.
That's
so
great.
the Scouts were, I think that was Pickering Scouts number 9, I believe. They were the original creators of that piece of art and installed it. I have been in contact with another group because that group no longer exists anymore. They have noticed the same thing. They would like to take that on. I would, though, like to talk to Public and Strategic Affairs as well and our DEI folks just before we do any of that work, just to make sure that it's...
Oh, we can't take it
something
down,
that-
can we?
I just want to make sure that some of the things are more appropriate or that are appropriate on the poll. Yeah.
Okay,
But that group has committed to taking that on.
Okay.
We just have to figure out timing for that. And I believe he said that they were going to take on the cost as well.
Oh, beauty.
Yes,
We like
which would
him.
be great.
The other thing was the signage for the Pickering Village. I don't know what happened to it, but it looked like somebody actually just shaved everything right off it.
Oh,
It was like flat. And I think operations took them down. And I really would love to have them, I know not in their current state, but redone and put back up again.
The signage for which piece, sorry?
The old, like Pickering Village. So there's one that was at Rotherglen, and then there's one at Notion Road. And literally, I feel like it might have been vandalized or something, because I'd never seen it in such bad shape. It looked like it had been shaved right off, right? And so I don't know. I know. I think, Tim, it's in your hands. And somebody said something about ECD, but I have no idea who has the template for it. But I would love to have that redone and put back up if that's possible. But nobody
believe
has to
that's
comment on when or how or what happened. But just I'm making a statement because I know it's been mentioned several times to Rob and I. And I had one more thing, and that is I absolutely love our mural in Pickering Village. It's so beautiful. It's never been tagged, never been bothered. It's just always remained the same. And if we ever get an opportunity to do another one in the village, I know there's another building. I think it's off. I think it's a blank wall around Windsor, I think it is. I would love if we ever get that opportunity to do it again and partner with, was it Soul for Life? What was that one we did?
Signs of Life. I
Signs
believe.
of Life,
Yes.
that's what it was. I would love that. It has really been, I think it's beautiful, so.
Thank you. I'm not sure Signs of Life exists anymore.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But regardless.
Maybe the people doing the totem pole.
Yeah, I mean, murals are a great way to brighten a space, and they're not as expensive as some of the bigger pieces like sculptures and things.
Yeah.
So it would just be a budget item for us, as well as depending on the building, we would need permission from the landowner.
Right, of course. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, I echo Regional Councillor Crawford's comments there. Looked like the sign was completely ripped out. Okay, any other questions on the 2024 Public Space Final Report? Are we good? Okay, moved by Regional Councillor Crawford. If we could vote, please. And that carries. Okay, next, just moving along here, doing pretty well. Item number 4.9, which is the 2026 municipal election candidate debate program, pulled by Regional Councillor Lee, if you'd like to speak to it, and Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Chair. So I just want to clarify a few things. There's no, so the meet and greet, I think anyone who went through that, can we all collectively agree, was garbage. It was the worst thing ever. Agreed. But there's pretty much no guarantee of a debate, though, based on reading this, right? We require a third party to come in and say, we want to host a debate. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Have we had anyone interested thus far? Has anyone approached the library? Has anyone come up to you proactively and been like, oh, we would love to host a debate?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not at this time, but we haven't put any advertising out that we're going to be doing this program again for the 2026 election, so I don't expect people to come forward until that time.
And there, theoretically, though, we could have a situation where wards 1 and 3 have debates, but ward 2 doesn't. It really depends on the third parties that come up to do a debate. Is that correct?
Correct.
Huh, okay. Well, I mean, this is just a general plea to the public. I would love a debate. I think it's important that as elected officials, we stand up to our record. And yeah, I would look forward to that. So hopefully someone will come through for our awards. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your comments. And just explanation to Councillor Henry, I'm reading the names left to right, and I should pay attention to the blinky light. That rhymes. Didn't mean for that to happen. You now have the floor, Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I was first in the queue. Not to worry. So first question is, I'm noticing this comment here. Town of Ajax municipal and school board election candidates, their agents and family members. And that's in referral to who could not put on a debate, correct? Through the chair to, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So when we talk about agents, why doesn't it say and their campaign team members? Is an agent like a manager for the candidate? Is an agent anyone that's on the campaign team? What's the description of an agent?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the agent is the same word that they use in the Municipal Elections Act, so we're just keeping the language consistent there.
But what's its definition?
I would have to pull it for you. 1 second.
Thank you.
Chair, do you want to perhaps go to the next speaker?
I can go to the next question, but it's from the same person.
Totally guilty. Just repeat what you just said, Regional Councillor Lee.
Perhaps you want to go to the next speaker and then we can come back to.
Why else do we wait? Okay,
I
yes.
actually have more questions for the same person, and if you go to the next speaker, I might not have my questions.
Okay, no, you can continue.
Is that okay?
Yep, absolutely, continue.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, you can continue asking your questions while I look.
Okay, so the next question is, I want to know if that also includes a person or a group that has received any funding from the town or province. Would they, like, when I say province, I mean funding from the town or funding from the province through the town. Would they be excluded from holding the debate?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would have to look at this in more detail to see what was.
I'll just jump in. If you're asking whether someone who received funds from, for example, the Ajax Partnership Fund would be excluded, the answer is no. They would be eligible.
They would be eligible. Okay. And I notice a section here that says candidates asked a series of preset questions. Each candidate is given a timed opportunity to respond. When we say preset questions, I noticed, because I ran 12 years for elections, saw debates done many different ways. Some of the debates, the questions were present to the candidate, and then of course a series from the audience. Is that what you mean by that statement in this report?
So through you, Mr. Chair, these are just recommendations for the third parties who may be facilitating these debates. So that recommendation would say that there was a balance between pre-set questions. So the candidate may be provided those questions ahead of time. They may be something that the third party would like to collect and then have a preset list of questions that they're ready to ask the candidates. And then the last part of that would also be to have sort of like an open mic component as well.
And who dictates what the question qualifications are? It would be the organizer, not the town, right?
Correct.
You're just given approval for the actual agency to do the event.
Correct.
Okay. And contracts for AV support. I'm noticing that we would be giving recommendations that would be coming through the town to the organizer, correct?
So we would assist with AV support and we would help them sort of find pathways that would assist through live streaming or recording or microphones or anything of that nature.
Assist meaning we would provide the equipment, or assist meaning we would lead them to a person who does it?
Both. We would look at what the options were based on the location that they're choosing and all of the different technology that is equipped with whatever room they're using and go from there.
Okay, so the reason for those questions kind of leads up to this. We're talking, the maximum is $2,500, correct?
Correct.
So if we're going to give them the room, we're going to give them the equipment, what's the money for?
So it would be up to the third party at that point how they would like to spend the money. It could be through marketing, it could be through anything that they would like to have on site during that event. They could use their money for live streaming or recording or any of the technology components. It really depends on the location that they're hosting and what is already available in the room that they're using that day.
Interesting. Okay. And this debate, of course, will happen after nomination period.
Correct, once the final list of candidates is certified.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mayor Collier.
Thank you, Chair. And just kind of following up on that last group of questions. First of all, I didn't get the pre-done questions. I guess they were sent. I never got them or read them. They must have gone to junk. So that was not helpful. But when I did read them at the debate, they were not relevant to municipalities at all. The event was put on by a healthcare provider, and they were all related to things that are provincially funded and provincially controlled, and had absolutely nothing to do with the town. So I wonder what steps are going to be taken to make sure that the questions asked are relevant to the job that candidates are actually running to do.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we would not be hosting the event, so we don't have any mechanisms in place to vet the questions.
Right, but if we're going to commit town funds, which my personal opinion we shouldn't be doing, but somebody has to do it, and since groups aren't lining up, I understand the incentive in providing some funding to enable, but I mean, at least it has to be relevant. So we need something, some wording in here, or something to the effect that we will be able to review them to make sure that they are actually, because asking mayoral candidates, in my case, about what we're going to do to provide some service at Ajax Hospital isn't a question that anybody can honestly ask or answer. It's not. What am I going to do? I don't know. I'm going to raise money for them through my gala, but other than that, that's it.
Through the chair to Mayor Collier, I think that's a fair statement. We would want it to be, the topics would have to be local, regional questions for sure. I just do not want to jump into reviewing or approving their questions. So in terms of getting reimbursements, at the end, there's a checklist that they must do, and one of the qualifications or guardrail or comments we can put in there is to make sure that it does follow a regional local issue.
That's basically what I'm saying is, can we just put some wording in there? I understand we want to be arm's length of this. I get it. But I think there needs to be some sort of wording in there, some sort of parameters, some guardrails around what the questions actually are, that they are targeted. Thank you.
Just before we vote, would you like to get back in, Councillor Henry?
Thank you. Yes, I agree with Mayor Collier. And to add on to that, there's some stuff that we discuss in closed sessions that, should that be part of the questions that are asked, we could never answer, and that would look evasive. So some boundaries on that type of questioning would also be good. And also, are we going to have regional and local debates separately, or are they together?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in the current report that you have in front of you, they are together. So it would be one per ward is what we're looking for, and it would include regional and local representatives.
I can speak from experience in saying that when there was a debate, my second election, I think it was, first or second election, when we were all up on stage together, we had the regional and the local, and it was a catastrophe. Because they were asking locals about regional issues and regional about local issues, and everybody was answering questions that none of them could, if they got the job, actually apply that information to. So I think there has got to be some really good, clear boundaries on this, or else it's not going to work. It's going to be a waste of time.
So through you, Mr. Chair, this is the same format when the town facilitated debates back in 2018. We did combine local and regional at that time, which may be what you're referring to. So I think, again, it would just go down to the education of these third parties who are applying, and we can help them craft some of their questions if they have any questions from the team. And we can also just help them direct on what issues would be applicable to which candidates present at the debates.
No, it wasn't the 2018 I was referring to. It was the election prior to that. It wasn't you guys. Don't worry. Thank you.
Okay, no, we have, hold on. We have, yeah, Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. And our ward, Regional Councillor Joanne Dyes and I, Ward 3 was the only ward that had a debate in the 2022 election. It was hosted by a third party, for I believe it was CFOC. And we had the debate combined, so the regional candidates on one side, the local candidates on the other side. We all received the same questions, and it was very well organized, and the questions were relevant to our roles. And I think the attendees just want to hear what the candidates have to say about the issues that were near and dear to Ward 3. So just a statement on that. My question is, why did, or what is the reason that the town cannot or chose to stop running the debates themselves? Because 2018 it was run through the town, and I thought that was well organized. So just curious.
To clarify, the town has been hosting debates since 2010. So we have been doing it a long time. We've partnered with various groups over the course of the time. However, as change has evolved, and democracy and social media and everything around that, there's a lot of issues with transparency and involvement and selection of who the parties are. So this provides a different avenue in a way that we're not seeking the organizations. We're not, in a room deciding the questions. We're not in a place where the candidates could look at the municipality and question any of the setup or the way or the mechanisms, or just in general the moderator even. So we've gone through all of the different situations, and I truly believe that if a group is organized enough and compassionate enough about the subject, like the example that you provided, that's the better way to go.
Okay. And were you finding that those concerns were coming up?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other speakers, so we're going to go to the vote for this. Municipal election candidate debate program, please. Oh, you're going to move it? Okay, sorry, Regional Councillor Crawford. Okay, and that carries. Thank you so much. And lastly, in the consent agenda, we have 4.10, pulled by Councillor Henry. Yeah, and Regional Councillor Crawford, and Councillor Bauer, and Regional Councillor Lee. Would you like to speak first? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So one of the questions I have, sorry, whose report is this? My apologies. Okay. Deputy Chief Administrative Officer. Yes, Cooper. So one of my questions is, I'm noticing that in other municipalities, we've had there was some uproar over constant tickets in the area, and folks saying they weren't aware that was actually there, the signage was there, because the signage is white, and most even though it makes sense that your speed limit's in the white sign, folks are saying, well, why isn't it in a yellow sign or a different color sign like a stop sign? Can you just answer that general question? To say it's a community safety zone, the community safety zone sign, why is it in a white background and not a yellow warning background? I've had this question from some residents.
Through the chair to Councillor Henry, these are prescribed through legislation. We have to follow them. We have no choice.
Simple answer, that's it.
Simple answer.
Asked and answered. And why is it that there's no markings to let folks know that you're entering a community safety zone? Signs, yes, there is signs. I'm asking road markings, something to show that you're entering the zone, you're leaving the zone.
Again,
Chevrons, something like that.
Through the chair to Councillor Henry, that might be a question better suited for Director Romanowski or the transportation group, but to my understanding, it's all legislatively prescribed. We have to follow very specific rules about signage and markings.
Provincial legislation?
Yes.
Okay, could you answer that? You're going to say the same thing?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Henry, it's all legislated, the signage. It's all prescribed for us, where we have to have it, how long we have to have it, say coming soon or in effect, etc. They'll know when they're entering a community safety zone. There's about 5 things that they see before they actually get to a camera that would take their picture in an ASE situation.
Have we had a big amount of feedback from residents regarding complaints about, I didn't know the camera was there, you know, there was a, like, not one person, but multiple residents. Have we had a lot of feedback from them saying about how they've had a higher number of tickets or?
I can let Deval answer that. His department or section probably would get most of the phone calls with regards to that.
Through the chair to Councillor Henry, not that I am aware of, we haven't received such complaints from any resident.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Regional Councillor Crawford.
Ridiculously thrilled about this. I can't tell you how happy I am that we're finally getting this AMP system up and running. The region at Finance and Administration asked for $400,000 unbudgeted money because they want to do their own AMP system. And I did this. No. So I want to know when this is going live. I want to know, I don't think, and forgive me if I missed this in the report, are we going to have to hire more people to run this program? Because they want 7.
Through the chair to Regional Councillor Crawford, I can answer this to some extent, and perhaps Deputy CAO Cooper would join in. But what I can say is no, there's no staff anticipated to be hired at this point in time.
Good answer.
And as soon as we receive endorsement from council, we will start the process. The goal is fall of this year to start implementing some of those contracts with sort of a real-time go live for spring sometime next year, Q1, Q2 next year.
Excellent. And the JPC, are we going to get rid of Toronto?
We are considering our options at this time. We're reviewing who we currently use, which is Toronto, and there are some newer JPCs that are sort of in the surrounding municipalities. So we're investigating sort of what their fee-for-service models are and what makes most sense.
And will they have, I guess they're not up and running, so we don't know if they have restrictions on the tickets for cameras?
Some of them are. The ones that we have investigated to date do not have restrictions.
Excellent. So when the millions of dollars start to roll into the town, will we be writing an invoice to the region because now we can actually identify our tickets? No
I'll
way.
defer to Deputy CAO Cooper on that.
A bill, I should say. Yeah, they were able to isolate their own tickets very clearly in what they anticipated in revenue coming in, but to date still can't figure out how to separate Ajax and Pickering. So I am so happy to hear that this is finally going live. I think not every single meeting, but many meetings that we held with our residents have asked us how much money we make from it. And we have been very clear and upfront about how this money gets not back to Ajax. So this is going to be good news, and believe me, we'll be sharing it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. It's good to see it coming, for sure. So I guess my question really is more about the appeal process of everything. So I know currently there is a hearing or maybe we could walk through that process, and will that be the same for ASC AMPS tickets? And I would love to know about an option for an online appeal process.
Sure. So through the chair to Councillor Bauer, it's essentially the same as what we currently do for phase 1 and 2. There's a screening request and then there's a hearing request.
Okay.
Part of what we're investigating with the JPCs currently is whether some of these joint processing centers can do those services on our behalf, because it is a little bit different from the phase 1 and phase 2 process in terms of timing and things like that. And sorry, what was the secondary piece?
The secondary piece comes from comments from residents regarding the appeal process, and that it has to be, I guess the second portion, the hearing has to be done in person.
Correct.
And there's no online option.
So that's, through the chair to Councillor Bauer, that's certainly something we're investigating. Some of the JPCs offer a virtual hearing process on our behalf, unless there are AODA requests that we would certainly honor on site locally.
Yep.
So that's something we're investigating for the ASC program, and then in future we can investigate whether that makes sense for phase 1 and phase 2 as well.
That would be great if it could be, and maybe it could be looked at the same time so that the process could match.
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you, and that's my question.
Thank you. We'll go to Regional Councillor Lee for first time in. Sorry, yes, Regional Councillor Lee. Right there.
Thank you, Chair. My only question is on recommendation 5 that says, Council delegate authority to the Director of Planning and Development Services for the identify and improve future ASE camera installation. I think the first time we went through this, you sat us all in a room, showed us all the community safety zones, and actually you got some feedback from council, like, because it's not in here specifically, like, technically you would be able to just choose it. Like, would you be comfortable if we put wording that identifies consultation with council? Because I do think it's important, as we kind of know our wards, maybe in certain areas better than.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Lee, yeah, that would be acceptable. We would consult with you anyways as kind of local knowledge and getting some feedback on some of the areas that maybe you have, have raised. We definitely can look at that.
I just like, again, if we go strictly with the recommendation, we are giving full delegated authority.
We
which
would
means-
anyways,
Right.
regardless.
What, you would anyways
We
like,
would
consult?
Consult regardless.
Right. And then, is there any wording that dictates that like each ward gets an equal number of ASE cameras at any given time? I think at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, at one point, like, I think Ward 3 had 2 cameras and Ward 2 had 0 cameras for a small period of time, and then they rotated. Is there a wording we can put in here to ensure that the cameras are equally distributed?
You could put that in there if you so, through the chair to Councillor Lee, you could put that in there if you so choose, but I think we would try to have a balance, we would definitely have a balanced approach in each ward, and with whether it's permanent cameras or a combination of permanent / mobile, we can also supplement some of this information or data because we have radar message board program that also captures the same information without issuing a ticket. So we can also use that information as well as your local knowledge to kind of craft the program and craft the different areas out accordingly.
Okay, it looks like you guys have thought about this already, so I don't think any amendments are necessary, but yeah, I definitely want to continue to be part of this program because I think it's important. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Did Deputy CEO Cooper wish to speak? I saw your camera on there.
If I might just add one comment for the benefit of Regional Councillor Lee. I know it's not in the recommendations of the report, but I just wanted to direct your attention to the roughly the top of page 6. Specifically makes a written commitment within the report that Planning and Development Services will consult with council at least on an annual basis specifically about the location of the cameras as sort of a critical component of determining where they go and what you're hearing from your constituents. So that is in the report, and it's our commitment to you as part of launching this program.
Okay, so I think second time now for both Councillor Henry and Councillor Bauer. So we'll go to Councillor Henry. right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So, quick question with regards to the community safety zones, the machines that we're using, and province, and I don't know if this can be answered or not. Is there talk of the province lowering the speed limits across the board in community safety zones? Do we know that? Has there been consultation?
Through the chair to Councillor Henry, there's nothing that we're aware of that anything like that's coming forward.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. I had heard some rumblings and just wanted to see if we talked about that.
Thank you. We'll just go back to, are we okay with that one?
There's some communication over there. Is there further communication coming to me? Okay, thank you.
Okay, we can just keep moving here. We'll go to Councillor Crawford now. Regional Councillor Crawford.
Looking at doing a JPS, that's in phase 2, correct? After they run their AMPS program?
I'm not aware of any intent by the region to start their own
Yeah,
joint processing
I asked them,
center.
they said it was phase 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, phase
That's
2.
news to me.
They also are looking at taking over the entire program throughout the region, and we're hoping that Ajax would join them. I said no, but I have only one voice
Okay.
on Ajax. No.
Oh, sorry.
I have a question. Do we list the streets that the ASC cameras are on our website currently? Because I send them out all the time, and it's very triggering to people.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Crawford. Yes, they are listed on our ASC page, on our internet page.
Okay, because I think the province is looking at that piece of it through ASC, if I'm not mistaken, right? And one of the things that they wanted was that there was a listing of where the cameras are on there, right?
And
okay.
that is a legislated requirement.
It is a legislative, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to rush you. And would you like to move it? Okay, if we could have a vote on the monetary penalty system, phase 3, automated speed, moved by Regional Councillor Crawford. Thank you. Councillor Henry? Okay. And that carries. Okay, perfect. Okay, so everybody okay here? We'll just keep moving. We move on now. It's the end of our consent agenda. We're moving on now to discussion 5.1. But as per my conversation with the clerks just before this meeting, I think there's a referral. Councillor Henry? Motion or an idea? I'll give you the floor.
I believe the clerks have the wording for this if they want to pull it up. And this was staff recommended. Do I have to read it out? Or, yeah, okay, sorry. A little fuzzy there. Street naming bylaw, civic addressing bylaw, and commemorative naming of municipal parks and building policy update deferred from May 12th, 2025, General Governance Committee meeting, moved by myself, Nancy Henry, that the street naming policy bylaw, civic addressing bylaw, and commemorative naming municipal park and building policy update be referred to staff to complete their consultation with the Indigenous community, and 2, that the staff be directed to report back to GGC committee in September 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this referral? Everybody's okay with this? Okay, so, and you're obviously moved by Councillor Henry. We're going to vote on this. Okay, that carries. And now to presentations, I believe, 6.1. So we have an outside, through you, Ms. Valentin, I guess you'll introduce. Do we have an external presenter? Sorry, Mr. Stephen Stewart, is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Mr. Stewart is here from Deloitte, who has been, he's a partner with Deloitte LLP doing our financial statements. So, Steve,
Sir, if you'd like to approach the bench. Sorry, shouldn't have said it that way. The podium, and we'll get your microphone on.
Thanks.
You have 5 minutes, sir.
I'll try to beat that. I am here today simply to advise as to where we are in respect of the audit. The town is required to appoint an auditor to perform an audit of your financial statements. We were appointed to do that. The financial statements, which I believe everyone's received a copy of for the year ended December 31st, 2024, has now been audited, and we are very, very close to being in a position to issue our final audit opinion. I just want to hit a couple of highlights for you. Those financial statements that you have been prepared in accordance with public sector accounting standards. Those standards are the same that are used by all municipalities in Ontario, probably Canada, provincial governments, federal governments, and other organizations as well. This year there were a few changes to the standards that had to be adopted by the town. One of them, with regards to revenue recognition of certain types of revenues, did have a small impact on the financial statements, but nothing significant. When we do an audit, we do not check 100% of everything. We test on a sample basis to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence that the amounts and disclosures in the statements are not materially misstated. For the purposes of our audit this year, our materiality was set at $4.4 million. What that means is that had we found errors that exceeded $4.4 million, we could not have issued a clean and unmodified audit opinion. I am happy to report that we found no misstatements at all during our audit, and therefore we do intend to issue that clean opinion. In the report that I provided to you along with the draft financial statements, I did list 3 items that were still outstanding. Those items were outstanding at the time we sent the report in. However, I'm happy to say at this point in time, those are all done. We are required to trace subsequent events up to the date of our audit opinion. We intend to issue our opinion today following the approval. Subsequent events means we have to look at anything that may have happened up to the date of our opinion to determine if something has occurred that might require a change to the statements or potentially additional disclosures. As of today, we're satisfied there are no such subsequent events. The management representation letter is a letter we ask management to sign back to us, essentially representing a number of things. Essentially, I always joke that it's that they told us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I believe I'll leave this room with that letter signed and in hand. And the final item was legal confirmations. We sent a couple of letters to lawyers who represent the town in various matters. We've heard back from them and everything is fine. The disclosures in the statements are appropriate. So at the end of the day, we will be issuing a clean audit opinion on the financial statements. It'll be dated today. And I think with that, that's everything I need to say.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart, for your prompt presentation. Much appreciated. Any member of council? I don't see anybody. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For coming to our council today. Much appreciated. And we have 6.2, which is the community sports supply, community support policy, not supply. And good to see you, Ms. Tiegelberg. Yeah, you have 1 minute. No, I'm just kidding.
Just waiting to see it on my screen. Thanks so much. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to Ajax Council and town staff. So my name is Laura Tegelberg, and I am the Policy and Community Support Coordinator in the Recreation and Culture Department. So today I'll be presenting a proposal for a new community sport support policy and associated sport registry program. So our local sport ecosystem is much more than the programs offered through the Recreation and Culture Department. It includes many community sport associations and clubs who offer recreational and competitive sport opportunities for residents beyond what the town has the capacity to deliver. The intent of this policy and program is to outline the town's investment in community support and build better coordination and collaboration among the greater local sport and recreation sector. So I wanted to today provide first a little bit of background of previous town programs and supports, as well as provide some context as to the current state of our local community support sector. I will provide an overview of the proposed community support policy and its associated program, and what the pathway will look like to implementation in terms of both our internal process and external processes and timeline for rollout. So first, I wanted to give a little bit of information as to how this policy and program evolved and what impact it would have to the local sports sector. So the development of a community sport policy was a goal directly identified in the 2022-2026 Strategic Plan, Action 26, under the focus area of connecting our community. So in addition, through the 2021 Recreation and Parks Master Plan process, which consulted with many local sport groups and associations, it was recommended that the town work towards greater collaboration with local sport organizations with a specific focus on facility allocation, opportunities to grow participation, and opportunities to offer more competitive programming. There has also been a renewed focus on community sport development within the Recreation and Culture Department, as we are seeing a number of concerning trends within the sports sector, the most significant ones being the ongoing impact of the COVID-19 pandemic even years out, as well as the current economic landscape, both of which are greatly impacting the current state of community sport. So as council is aware, the town has operated a number of community support programs for many years, the first of which was the Community Group Affiliation Program, or CGAP. So CGAP was introduced in 2007 with the intent to increase organizational capacity for local nonprofits and community groups by helping reduce operational costs through the provision of discounted and in-kind facility space. So the CGAP program ran for almost 10 years and was facilitated through the Recreation and Culture Department. In 2017, the CGAP was rolled into the Impact Ajax program under the administration stream. This assumption of CGAP into the Impact program was more of an administrative move. The program itself remained unchanged. The move was to create a single point of access so that all methods of corporate giving sat under one single program portfolio. So the supports provided through these programs were open to all Ajax serving community organizations and were not sport specific. So this included arts and culture, social services, as well as sport. So as you can see in the chart on the slide, the support tiers were based on years of incorporation with the philosophy that the program could be an incubator for new groups to help them grow and become more sustainable with stepped out levels of support over the years as they grew. And while this was a very successful program, with many community organizations making use of the supports, there were some limitations to this model. So as mentioned, the levels of support were based on years of incorporation rather than need. So this model is less flexible to support groups through change management experiences. So for example, the COVID-19 pandemic, or if they experience major executive or board member changes as well. Various support tiers also creates a heavy administration load for staff. So these levels have to be built into various different internal systems, so for example, our ActiveNet software, and require extensive tracking processes to ensure that groups are moving through the tiered levels at appropriate times and are receiving corresponding approved discount percentages. So additionally, what we heard and what was reflected in the program data is that sport groups were underrepresented in the uptake of this program. These groups expressed that their needs were not reflective in the program, and they desired more sport-specific supports, such as a focus on tournaments, special events, and sport development. So investing in community support has become even more urgent coming out of the pandemic. So COVID-19 stripped away access to sport and recreation far beyond to a level that anyone could ever imagine, and has put grassroots and recreational organizations at risk. So Jumpstart, as you can see the statistics on the screen here, is a national charitable arm of the Canadian Tire Corporation. They advocate for equitable access to sport and recreation opportunities across Canada. So in collaboration with Ipsos, Canadian Tire Jumpstart details the impacts of COVID in its annual State of Sport report. In the 2020 report, 2022 report, more than 50% of organizations estimated it would take at least to 2024 to rebound, and despite improved outlook in subsequent years, there are still substantial gaps in the local sports system. Sport organizations are grappling with inflation, financial barriers, and limited resources, which translates to higher fees for families and in turn reduced registrations. And then based on on the 23 report, which are the statistics shown on the screen, the average financial loss to Canada's sport organizations is estimated at $132,000. So in addition to causing participation declines, the complete shutdown during the pandemic also led to large resource gaps. We lost volunteers, we lost coaches, staffs, and referees. So years without sport also translated to years without training the next cohort of human resources to support the game. So therefore, in rebuilding, many sport organizations had to continue to operate at a reduced capacity, meaning less sport and recreation opportunities were available. So it's well established that sport and recreation has positive impacts on health. It's not only linked to good physical health, but improving mental health and well-being, mood, creating strong social connections, and a sense of belonging. And these reduced participation opportunities have created ripples in the community and negative impacts on reduced participation in children. And I won't get into the statistics, you have them on the slides, but it has had a significant impact, especially in terms of mental health, more significantly impacting up to 44% of those who had a very extreme impact on their sport participation during the pandemic. So we've also seen trends in our local sport community. So participation trends have shifted. We're no longer seeing sport associations serving a single municipality, but rather drawing from a larger catchment in order to sustain meaningful and competitive play. The majority of our large sport associations are amalgamated with bordering municipalities. So for example, Ajax Pickering Minor Hockey Association, Ajax Pickering Riet, or they serve a specific section of the greater Durham region, such as Durham West Lightning or West Durham Lacrosse. So this chart is just a sample. It's not representative of all local community sport organizations, but as you can see from this snapshot, there are fewer and fewer solely Ajax-based associations. Furthermore, there have also been changes in rules within our Ontario sports system. In particular, with minor hockey, they've introduced an open borders rule, which means you are no longer required to play for the municipality in which you reside, and you are free to move across borders into any bordering or further municipality in order to play your sport. So these, again, so our previous programs of CGAP and Impact required a very high Ajax residency rate in terms of their eligibility to receive support. But that was 10 years ago, and clearly looking at the trends and what has happened with the pandemic, this is no longer the reality of our current sports sector. So I've already mentioned the connection to well-being, but I do want to emphasize the large contribution of revenue that the town does get through our seasonal permitting of our indoor and outdoor infrastructure. So sport has a huge economic local driver. In ice permits alone from the 2024-25 season, we're just shy of generating $1 million for the town. Sport tournaments also offer large revenue opportunities, with some sport associations permitting up to $70,000 in tournament bookings throughout their season, and not to mention the economic benefits that tournaments bring to our local hospitality sector in use of restaurants, hotels, and other tourist attractions. It's also a large economic driver in terms of employment and youth job skills development. So needless to say, sport plays an integral role in our community and contribute to building community pride, spirit, and cohesion, as we saw with the last Olympic Games and had a number of Ajax residents who had competed in those and grew up playing for our local sport organizations. So I appreciate your patience in providing some context, because I did really want to demonstrate how these factors were considered in developing the community support policy and associated program, and how they have been reflected in the change in eligibility requirements when you're comparing them to previous programs such as this CGAP and the Impact program.
Thank you so much for your presentation. You got a lot in there. You were just, yeah.
I know, I'm trying to tried to hammer through it.
No, appreciate it.
But yeah, are there any
yes, so we have
questions? Yes.
one speaker on the, oh, you weren't done? No. So there's 8 more slides?
There are, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, my apologies. I thought I could get through it fast.
Okay, I was just listening. Okay, I apologize. I jumped ahead because when I saw that last slide with the blue, I just was looking at my speakers list, so I just wanted to explain why I cut you off. I didn't mean. Okay, so do you want to grant more time and another 5 minutes? Is that what we're doing here? Can we do this?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll call a vote on granting you another 5 minutes. Moved by Councillor Bauer. Stand by. Okay, so you may proceed.
Thank you.
And again, I apologize because I saw the blue screen and jumped.
No need to apologize. I went over my time. It's understood. So obviously the main objective of this policy is to find mechanisms to support the capacity of the local sport organizations and sector. But really we're looking at a way to ensure that the municipal resources are allocated in a fair and transparent manner to eligible groups, and it creates a standardized process for all groups to access in the same manner. So as I mentioned, there has been changes to Ajax residency. So again, as I said, we're not seeing single sole associations serving single municipalities in our sports sector anymore. So we're looking when it's an Ajax-based group, and for the purposes of this policy, that would be defined as operating strictly out of Ajax and serve or represent the Ajax community only. So for example, Ajax Spartans Minor Baseball or Ajax Skating Club. They would be required to maintain a minimum of 70% of their membership as Ajax residents. And then for those serving sport groups that require drawing on a catchment from a larger area, so for example, Ajax Pickering Minor Hockey or Durham West Lightning Girls Hockey, they would have the flexibility that that residency requirement may be reduced if they're drawing on membership to sustain competitive and meaningful play from the greater Durham region. And then in terms of eligibility criteria, they would have to demonstrate they are a nonprofit organization with a mandate to provide recreational programs. They do operate under the governance principles of a nonprofit. They obviously maintain general liability insurance and are in good financial standing with the town. So the first level of support is a 50% discount on council-approved rental fees. So the intention behind these offerings is to support administrative functions and increase the capacity of the organizational by reducing operational costs. So for organizations that don't have a brick and mortar office or a sufficient space, running monthly executive and members meetings or booking seasonal registration space can become costly. So as noted in the Jumpstart reports, organizations are experiencing challenges with rising operational costs. So the hope is reducing costs associated with administrative functions can ideally translate into reduced costs transferred onto participants and families. Then the second level is in-kind facility space offered for free for select bookings. The intention behind these offerings is to support and increase the capacity of the organization by encouraging the implementation of sport development initiatives and community outreach and awareness to build participation rates and to help close the human resource gaps. I specifically want to speak to tournaments. So tournament support was something that was requested directly from sport groups. The provision of an in-kind tournament registration office is a standard practice across municipalities. And so not only do we want to offer comparable levels of service as our municipal counterparts, we also need to consider that we have a large number of amalgamated organizations so that we can encourage them to equally host tournaments between our community and bordering municipalities who we share members with. And then again, the free provision of training space is intended to directly address the human resource gap, allowing no or low cost coach, referee, volunteer, or training or certification programs. And then there are some additional sports, so they would have access to town staff liaison support to help with volunteer development, or again, providing that single point of contact for communication on different opportunities such as grants and funding. As well, we've been moving and transitioning to digital platforms. So with the reduction of printed materials, we'd look to develop a community sport page as part of the new website so that Ajax residents have a one-stop shop to browse local sport organizations and connect with programs that meet their interests and needs. So in terms of program implementation, so if this is endorsed by council, sport groups will be required to register through an application form and submit documentation to validate against the eligibility criteria. The program term would operate for annually, and so just for the determination of annual entitlements, it would run from January 1st to December 31st of that calendar year, but applications would be accepted on an ongoing basis, with the provision that certain entitlements such as members or executive meetings would be prorated based on the time of application submission, and then once approved, they would be approved for a term of 2 years, which and then after they would have to reapply to revalidate their eligibility criteria. And then in terms of implementation, so again, if endorsed, it would be developed in terms of the digital application and platform and assets throughout summer of 2025. Fall of 2025 would involve the promotion and communication to our local community sport network, as well as the beginning of the application intake for the 2026 term. And then in 2026, January would be the start of the inaugural term of the program, with tracking and reporting taking place throughout, and then a 1-year report to council would commence after that. So at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions from council.
Excellent. Okay, so we will start with Mayor Collier.
Thank you, Chair. And I honestly do not mean to be disrespectful in any way, but what you're describing here is this an extension of our Ajax Partnership Fund. Is that accurate?
Yep, and it was modeled after to maintain consistency with the facility rental discounts. But one thing I would say is because we work so closely with the group, so I'll give the example of ice allocation, we're working with them well in advance of their upcoming season. So some of these supports can be built into those processes when we're working with them directly, as opposed to having them apply, through a partnership fund application.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm having real trouble with this because I don't sign blank checks, and we have no idea what the cost of this is going to be. I can't support just we'll see what this does and report back at the end of 2026 on what the cost is outside of the budget process. Do I understand that correctly? That is the intent in reading this report?
Yes, so that was the intent with the limitations identified in the support charts, that they would get up to those values, but there would not necessarily be the uptake of exactly those values.
One of your early slides, you said community groups, sports groups are subject to inflation, limited budgets, higher costs. And so are we at the town. Since we already have our partnership fund and we already contribute $250,000 a year of our slots revenues to supporting community groups, I'm wondering why this can't be implemented in next year's rollout of that funding to cover these expenses. Why you want to do a separate unknown amount. Could this just form part of next year's partnership fund?
Yeah, and absolutely, I can have that conversation with the Public and Strategic Affairs division. I know it was identified in the 2022-2026 action plan, but yeah, I definitely agree with the coordination of services and corporate giving, so I can certainly have that conversation with their office.
Okay, because I know all the funds have been committed for this year, I believe, or we'll be going through the next round in November. And is it October or November that we do the partnership fund?
The partnership fund, we start in September, October getting grants. But I just want to make something clear that sport has never been part of APF. It's completely separate.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand. I think I just actually saw the heads up on the application process will be opening soon, and those that. No, I didn't see that? Okay, my mistake. What? I didn't ask the question yet. I also have an issue with the Ajax residency requirement. Because asking Ajax taxpayers to support something with property taxes, which really it is, like let's not mess with the words. Yes, it's for our slots revenues, but if that was included in our budget, it's offsets tax revenues. going to outside Ajax groups is not going to be politically popular, I don't think. So I'm supportive of the program as a whole, but I would prefer that this be sort of merged with the partnership fund. I will be very honest, and I have been vocal with some of our staff. I don't think some of the things we give partnership money to are really that beneficial to the broad taxpayer base of Ajax, and we should maybe looking at limiting that scope a little bit. I think by sort of merging this with that existing program and using that existing funding source, but maybe gearing part of it towards sport may be the way to go. That would be my suggestion. Now I see Mr. Vita.
I just want to clarify one more point through the chair to the mayor, that this is facility in-kind discounts. Recreation isn't looking for funding per se, it's revenue, but our current setup is primarily for grants through APF.
Well, we do have a facility funding section of the partnership fund.
It's a separate, it gets reported to you together, but it's actually separate. And that is where they have mirrored the program. They have mirrored the in-kind program that we currently offer, but offering it for sports outside of community groups. So they're not offering up a grant program per our intake process. Our in-kind program happens annual, like it occurs during the year. We take intake on that,
I get that
all the time.
I get that. Just one more thing with regards to youth sport. And I know that we have our costs, and for adults, they pay the full cost. That's what our program is, my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. But for youth, well, I think we only recoup 50% or less, Mr. Vita?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Collier, or sorry, Mayor Collier. It really depends on the specific activity, right? Some of our registered programs are cost recovery based. We also offer a number of free drop-in programs, playground programs, and things like that.
Youth sports, hockey, baseball, those types of things, they don't pay the full rate.
For the rental of our facilities, that's right. There's specific youth sport rates.
So theoretically, we're already funding 50% of youth sport just by not charging the full amount of our costs.
To you, Mayor Collier, it's not a 50% discount. There's a slight discount from our base rates for sure for youth sports, but it's not at 50%. I'd have to double check the percentage. If I can jump in for 1 second here, just to clarify, one of the items Laura and I discussed and our team discussed was putting a cap on what we might provide. We opted not to put the cap on because we wanted really to see what the uptake was within the community. I know one of the things Laura and I discussed was that sort of high level value that we were providing during the last time we had such a program during Impact. And Laura, if you want to jump in and say what that amount was.
So I did go back to look at when we were offering in-kind room bookings through the Impact program. So that would have been open to not just sport, that's all community organizations. So from 2019, it was 11,555. In 2018, it was 6,882, and then in 2017 it was $4,202 in-kind givings.
That's helpful. So rather than, I was going to suggest, would it be more beneficial to refer this to get those numbers and to clarify possible alignment with the partnership fund? Would it just be possible to put in one of the recommendations, rather than just approve the program up to an upset limit of $10,000 or whatever, and then report back at the end of 2026.
Yeah, through you,
At
Mayor
least then I
Collier.
have some comfort knowing it's it will be next year anyway. It can form a budget item, and at least I know it's not a blank check.
Agreed. That's absolutely a provision that can be included.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay, moving on to our speakers list, Regional Councillor Sterling Lee.
Thanks for the report. In your research, how many youth are we going to impact with a program like this? Like, what's the total number of youth through all the programs that we think are going to apply for this?
So in terms of looking at local sport organizations, we work closely with, I'd say, approximately 15, but it's hard to estimate because some of those have brick and mortars. So for example, Ajax Pickering Minor Hockey has a brick and mortar, and so when you're looking at stuff like executive or members meetings, their uptake on that probably won't be as high. But when you're looking at tournaments, that's something that they're definitely going to be leading towards in terms of support. So I would say for our ICE users, tournament support will definitely be high on their list, whereas I don't know the administrative support will be so high. So it's about 15 groups that we're looking at that would be leveraging potentially this support, with the caveat being that not all will need everything.
So I think I'm safe in saying I think this is going to be an incredibly helpful program. We've had organizations approach us, and they've more or less said that, it's hard, and they're not looking for a handout per se. They're looking to make things a bit easier, and I think this program absolutely achieves that goal. I think there's a large ROI based on the number of kids that this will impact. My only concern is kind of we want to make sure they're financially square with the town, but how do we ensure that the organizations themselves are financially secure? Like, I don't mind helping an organization out, but if they're, a loss, like they're just run inefficiently, there's no mechanism in place for us to gauge that, is there?
There is. So in the policy document itself, so first of all, in the criteria, they do have to be in good financial standing with the town, which we can run reports on very easily. But then in the policy itself, while we require certain documentation in the application, if we have reason to believe that they're not operating in a financially responsible manner, we can request annual financial statements. And so there is that caveat written into the policy to state that the town has the authority to request additional documentation outside of that which is submitted within the initial application.
Okay, so there's even safeguards in place to ensure that, we aren't, throwing it out. But, looking at this, it looks like a lot of it is in kind. And yes, we lose a bit of our facility rentals. But again, I think organized sport is something that it was a priority for us according to our strategic plan. So I think committing, doesn't look like a lot of funds based on previous historical, numbers. I think we're in a good spot here. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Next, we have Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Quick question. So if we're talking about putting all this into one pot, meaning that the Ajax Partnership Fund is operating this, we're not putting more money into that fund, right? Into that pot. So that means that potentially some of is that what we're talking about here?
Just no. To clarify this, the $250,000 that's annually allocated to funding is separate from this program. So this would only be in-kind offerings, and there would be no granting or funding dollars provided to sport.
None provided. Okay.
No.
So what the mayor was talking about, running it through out of the partnership fund?
Through the chair to the mayor, Councillor Henry, sorry, through the chair to Councillor Henry, I apologize. Yeah. No, the mayor was just determining an upside limit for the current recommendations. He wasn't recommending that it be tied to APF or our community group in-kind facility.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, that's not the recommendation. That's not what
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, CO Baker, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what the mayor was suggesting was that we offset the revenue loss through APF. Is that correct, sir? No. Okay, I wasn't right either.
Okay,
What I was
suggesting
was that we already allocate $250,000 in the budget to fund different things. This is a fairly small amount now that we know. I thought it was much higher. I didn't want to find out in the end of next year we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. But since it's a smaller amount and we already have a facilities application process through, why are we not just modifying that application process of the partnership fund to include this? Was basically what I was suggesting.
Through the chair to the mayor, the current setup that we have through PSA, Public and Strategic Initiatives, is based on our expertise around working with community groups and the granting and the priorities associated with the town. And so that's where our alignment is. Your experts regarding sports and policy around sports is down in recreation and culture. They are the ones that need to lead this, assess it, work and build those relationships with the groups. So while they are modeling our current program that we have, the process should be delivered by Recreation and Culture. We have, the program is basically the same. It's just that one is determining the in-kind for community groups and one is determining the in-kind for sports. And both are nominal costs, as you referred to, in terms of revenue not received.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So we're keeping them separate, is what we're saying, and each will do their own, and it'll be very similar to that of what we're already running with the Ajax Partnership Fund, correct? Director, Communication.
In terms of the process for the in-kind facility process, yes, very, very similar. Same percentage discount, the same criteria, basically. The only difference is that they're being delivered by the two different departments.
And for any extra funding source that needs to be given, will there be an extra funding source, and how much will that be again?
So there won't be any other funding source. It's just in kind.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Director McClarty, if a sport organization was to approach the partnership fund for a specific funding project, they would still be eligible to come through that system.
You are correct.
Excellent.
Excellent. We're all good then. Thank you.
Okay, always nice to hear we're all good. You shook everybody up, Laura.
Had to, I was the last presenter.
Okay, sorry, we will go to Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for the presentation. So just going back to the numbers that you gave for the in-kind funding for the last, I believe it was the last 3 years, do you know how many organizations that equaled?
Yes, I can give you that as well.
Thank you.
So for the 11,005, it was 9 organizations.
Okay.
For the 6,008, it was 8 organizations. And then in 2017, for the 4,002, it was 12 groups.
12 groups? Okay. And is that based on, so more groups, smaller rooms? Like
It could be. It depends on what the ask is that year. So it might have just been smaller executive spaces,
Right.
As opposed to, let's say, a special event waiver. So yeah, it would fluctuate year to year based on that.
Okay, and those funding numbers are equal to 50% in-kind donation or 100%?
So the difficulty with that is under the previous programs, it was a tiered level of support. So again, another factor that may affect dollar value from the previous program was that some groups under 2 years could have everything for free.
Right.
And then as you progressed through years of incorporation, your funding support was reduced. So some were receiving 60%, some were receiving 100%, and some were receiving 40%. So that could have been in that 11,000 year, might have been
All
fresh
newer
groups, all
yeah.
receiving in-kind support.
Okay, and the proposal that you're talking about today keeps that tiered leveling? I'm sorry if you already said that.
No, so it's standardized based off of mimicking the facility in-kind discounted, or the discounted facility rentals program. So it's either 50%, and that's really to support that administration side of sport, and then in-kind would be the sport development side. So either 50 or 100% discount.
Okay. Thank you. So, and the reason I'm asking for those numbers is to understand if the mayor's proposal for a cap of 10,000, is that sufficient for potentially supporting 15 organizations? And I don't know the answer to that or what you think. Did you hear that, Sean? No, I didn't. So, I was just trying to understand the monies that were given in previous years, how many organizations received them, and to trying to decide if the proposed 10,000 cap that you put forward, would that be enough money or too much or the right amount to support roughly 15 organizations who might take this fund? Because if we're going to put a cap, maybe we should at least try to calculate what the appropriate cap would be.
Well, I think when I asked the question, I was told 1 year is 11,000, 1 year is 5,000 or 6,000, 1 year is about 8.
Yes.
So that's why I suggested 10, just to have some kind of balance. And sorry, I didn't get your question first of all, because I'm in a bit of a side conversation with Christy over there trying to sort out how we can do this.
Sure.
I just felt that since it's, that's the number, and we could build it in. That was sort of what I was suggesting. I don't know if 10 is enough, but I'm not happy or supportive just leaving it at
No,
whatever
I
it
understand that
is.
completely. I
'Cause
agree with you.
We have no idea what the volume is going
Yeah.
to be. People are going to see, you know, a subsidized program or whatever you want to call it, and we could have 100 applications.
Right.
And like we do with the partnership fund, we have a pool of money. We have applications that are, I don't know, multiple times the amount we can actually fund. We have to choose those that are most deserving and allocate those funds up to that limit. That's all I'm suggesting is if we're going to do this, especially since we don't know all these different variables, we put a cap
Put
on
a
it.
cap.
And I was going to suggest that we do 240 in the partnership fund and 10 to recreation for the first year of this program. And I don't know if I need to do that in a motion or not, or just through budget
Right.
to sort of test this out. And that was what I was thinking. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, I do understand what your reasoning is, and I appreciate it. And because I agree, it should not be an open window of funding. But I see the Director of Finance has a comment, which would be
Ms.
great.
Valentin, do you have, Director Valentin should say?
Thank you, through the chair to Councillor Bauer and Mayor Collier. So the program that is run, the facility in-kind program, is a loss of revenue to the town. It is not sending out money. So right now, there's $250,000 that's allocated to the partnership fund on an annual basis, $1 million over the 4-year term of council for grant program. On top of that are the in-kind that are being run. So that's on top of the grant program. So what is being requested through the Recreation Department is on top of that as well.
So does council have all the information at this? Okay. Mayor Collier.
That's news to me. I thought the 250 was part grants, part reduction in income. How much was the forfeiture of revenue last year under the HS Partnership Fund? Because I thought the entire bundle was 250, and it was the combination of the two.
Through the chair to the mayor, I believe we supported around 30 to 40 organizations in your last update, and it amounts to about a $10,000 loss in revenue.
I don't know that that helps, but okay.
It doesn't come out of the 250.
Okay, so do you want to move this, and we're going to, abide with the council approved. The recommendations that council approved, just to recap, the proposed community support policy and associated community support program. So are we all good with the information at this point? Okay. Or we have a question? Do you have a question? Yes, Councilor Bauer, go ahead.
Yes, so just continuing on how I do agree with Mayor Collier with the idea of a cap. Is there an amendment or a bullet that could be, or just a commitment that as you are doing these applications and approving the in-kinds, you're going to do that lost revenue number total, and maybe that's where the applications are capped. Once you get that lost revenue of 10,000 or whatever we decide, then the the process is finished for the year. I don't know if.
So, I was going to say, Director Vita, you spoke to this, correct? If you
Okay, I'm
maybe
sorry
could-
if you did.
Yeah, through the chair, we can absolutely put the 10,000 cap or another number that council would like us to consider. I do just want to add, one of the things we've heard from some of our sport organizations in the past couple of years, particularly those organizations that are shared amongst multiple municipalities, is oftentimes they've opted to take their tournaments and bigger events elsewhere because we haven't had the tournament office support or room support to provide them. So while there is some loss of revenue that we will see here, it is also our goal to better support those organizations and to encourage them to choose Ajax in our facilities and see the economic benefit that our community sees from hosting those larger tournaments as well. So that's absolutely one of our goals here.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll look to the clerk to help with language, but can we have wording in this that says any amount over $10,000 comes back to council for approval? There could be a really good organization that we would arbitrarily cut off because of a number, and I don't want to lose, huge opportunities for a huge tournament that could have tourism ramifications as well. So clerk, could you help me with language with that?
Absolutely. To Mr. Chair, can I please have a mover for the original motion before we jump into amendments?
I think I moved it.
Okay, so Councillor Henry is going to move it.
Okay.
Okay, so now do we speak to the amendment that's on the floor?
Correct. I'll draft an amendment if
Which
there's
will
any
be
questions
moved
at
by
the time.
Regional Councillor Lee.
Correct.
Okay, so you're going to put it on the screen, or we're going to just vote on it as per standby? It's coming on the screen. Okay, so it is on the screen now, and it's, I believe the motion to amend is Regional Councillor Lee, not Mayor Collier, is that right?
Unless my name has changed, that is correct.
Okay. Okay, so the motion be, you want to read it?
No, it's fine.
Councillor?
It's,
Okay,
it's
so we
there.
can
It's
all
just,
see it
I
there?
said just anything over 10,000 that it comes to council, because I think it's, again, I don't want to lose opportunities.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's vote on the amendment. If you have any questions on the amendment, sorry. Okay, we don't. Okay, so we can vote on the amendment, please. Looks like everyone's voted. Okay, that passes. So now we will vote, if there's no other questions, on the motion as amended. Okay, that's done. And there is no closed session. And moving right along to point A, adjournment, moved by Mayor Collier. And if we could vote on that as well, please.